Hey everyone, buckle up. We're about to take a deep dive into the future, talking about some seriously cool predictions about where technology is going.
And what that means for all of us, really.
Exactly. Imagine a world with robo-taxis everywhere,
AI assistants that can practically read your mind.
and hypersonic flights that get you anywhere in the blink of an eye. Sounds like science fiction.
It does, but it's closer than we think.
We're diving into ARK Invest's Big Ideas Tom 25 report, which is jam-packed with insights about all of this.
It's fascinating stuff. We're not just talking about small incremental changes. It's like we're on this rocket ship of technological advancement.
Okay, so things are about to get really wild. Give us the rundown.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Remember that story about the inventor of chess?
The one who asked for a grain of rice on the first square of the chessboard, then doubled it on each square after that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how things can snowball out of control. But what does that have to do with our phones and all this future tech?
Well, just like those rice grains, technology is advancing at an accelerating pace. The most dramatic changes happen later in the game, and we're entering that phase right now.
So we're at the point where things start to get really crazy.
Pretty much. Just loot your smartphone. It's way more powerful than one from just a few years ago, and that's just a tiny taste of what's to come.
So what's driving all this insane progress?
Moore's law is definitely a factor, but the real game changer here, the thing that's really pushing things forward, is artificial intelligence.
AI.
AI, right? It's like this magic ingredient unlocking crazy advancements in every industry you can think of.
Exactly.
Speaking of AI, let's talk about these AI agents that everyone's been buzzing about. What's the real deal with those?
Okay, so imagine having a personal AI, but it doesn't just understand what you need, it can actually interact with the digital world for you. Like doing things, not just answering questions.
Whoa, hold on. Are you saying I could tell my AI to go find me the best deal on noise-canceling headphones, while it's also negotiating a lower interest rate on my credit card? Exactly, that kind of thing. And it gets even wilder. As these AI agents become more intelligent, they open up this whole new world of personalized advertising.
Oh, how so?
Imagine ads that are so tailored to you that they're actually helpful instead of annoying. ARK Invest predicts that AI is going to revolutionize advertising, making it more targeted and effective than ever before.
Okay, that's a pretty big shift. But what about the impact on jobs? Especially in customer service, with all this AI taking over.
That's where critical thinking comes in. We've got to be able to analyze all this and figure out how to adapt, just like a detective in a good movie.
Like Sherlock Holmes.
Exactly. He was always thinking steps ahead, anticipating his opponent's moves.
Okay, so we all need to be more like Sherlock Holmes, right?
Hmm.
Figuring out what AI means for our jobs and our lives. Elementary, my dear listener. But seriously, what skills should we be focusing on if AI is going to automate so many things?
Good question. Things like adaptability, creativity, and problem solving will be super valuable in a world where AI can handle all the routine tasks. Think about jobs that really need human qualities like empathy, intuition, and the ability to connect with others. Those are areas where humans will still have the edge.
Makes sense. It's not about being replaced by technology. It's about adapting and evolving with it.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about something super exciting. Robotaxis. Are they really going to become a thing? And how soon can we ditch our car keys for good?
Well, a lot of car companies have actually pumped brakes on developing self-driving cars.
Really?
Yeah, but Tesla and Waymo are still going full steam ahead.
So it's a race to the future.
You could say that.
What can we expect then in terms of cost and convenience?
Imagine paying just 25 cents per mile for a ride. That's way cheaper than owning a car, even if you never have to pay for gas or insurance.
Yeah.
Robotaxis could make transportation much more affordable and accessible for everyone. And think about all the space in cities we could reclaim from parking lots.
Okay, now that's a future I can get behind. But speaking of disruption, let's talk about Bitcoin. It's been a roller coaster this year. Record highs, followed by some pretty big dips.
It has been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But here's something interesting. Despite something called a halving event this year, which cut the rewards for Bitcoin miners in half, Bitcoin's hash rate actually increased.
Hold on, hash rate. For those of us who aren't crypto experts, could you explain what that is?
Sure, the hash rate basically measures the computing power that's securing the Bitcoin network. So a higher hash rate means more security. The fact that it went up after the halving shows long-term confidence in Bitcoin.
Okay, so what does all this mean for the average person trying to make sense of the crypto world?
It means that it's essential to do your research, understand the risks and the potential rewards, and then decide for yourself what role, if any, cryptocurrencies should play in your financial strategy. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investments.
Wise words. But before we go too deep into the philosophy of crypto, let's talk about something else that's been gaining a lot of attention lately. Stablecoins. People are saying they're the future of payments, especially with all the buzz about layer 2 solutions and lower transaction costs. What's the deal with those?
Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies that are pegged to stable assets, like the US dollar. They offer the efficiency of crypto with the price stability of traditional currencies.
Ah, so it's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, something like that. People want stability and familiarity, especially in a world that feels increasingly unpredictable.
Right.
Just imagine a world where stablecoins become the main way people pay for things, even surpassing credit cards in volume. It might sound crazy now, but remember, so did the internet back in the day.
Okay, that's a pretty wild thought.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out for a second. We've talked about all these cool applications, but what about the underlying technology? Can blockchains actually handle all this growth and innovation?
That's where scaling comes in. Developers are working hard to make blockchains faster and more efficient to handle all the increasing demand. For example, Ethereum's recent EIP 4844 upgrade significantly reduced transaction costs, making it much easier and cheaper to use.
So it's like upgrading the internet's infrastructure to handle more data.
Exactly. And on top of that, decentralized exchanges, or DEXs, are gaining ground on their centralized counterparts because they're more efficient and transparent. We're also seeing new and creative applications like prediction markets popping up, where people can bet on the outcome of real-world events using blockchain technology.
Prediction markets. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about energy for a second. All of this innovation, especially AI, requires a lot of power, right?
That's a really important point. AI hardware does require a lot of power, but the good news is that energy production is also growing rapidly.
So it's a race. Innovation versus energy production.
In a way, yeah. And there's another factor we should consider in nuclear energy. It's making a comeback as a clean and reliable power source, especially with the development of these new small modular reactors, or SMRs. They're much safer and more efficient than traditional nuclear plants.
Nuclear energy, huh? That's a pretty bold move, but it definitely makes you think about the future of energy. Speaking of bold moves, let's talk about robotics. Beyond factory work, what kind of impact are robots going to have on our everyday lives?
The potential of robotics is huge. We're not just talking about robots doing specific tasks in factories, we're talking about general-purpose robots that can do a whole range of things, from household chores to helping out in healthcare, and even exploring hazardous environments.
So picture this. Robots doing the dishes while you relax with a book, or maybe even giving you a massage. Sign me up for that future. But seriously, how close are we to that reality?
Closer than you might think. Advancements in 3D printing are making it faster and cheaper to build robots, and AI is making them smarter and more adaptable. We're really on the brink of a robotics revolution that could change the way we live and work.
Okay, before we jump to part 2 of this deep dive, we got to talk about space. Reusable rockets, hypersonic travel. It feels like all the stuff of science fiction is becoming a reality. Where do we even start?
Well, SpaceX is definitely leading the charge here with their Falcon 9 and Starship programs. They're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in space exploration, and reusable rockets are a big part of making space travel more affordable and accessible.
So you're saying space tourism might actually be within reach for regular folks, not just billionaires. That's amazing.
It's definitely becoming more and more plausible. And beyond tourism, think about the potential for scientific discoveries, using resources from space, maybe even colonizing other planets.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. But before we get too carried away with dreams of interplanetary travel, let's bring things back down to Earth for a moment. Multi-omics, it sounds incredibly complex, but also super fascinating. What's the big deal with analyzing all this biological data?
It's like having a super-powered microscope that allows us to see the intricate workings of life in incredible detail. By analyzing things like DNA, RNA, and proteins, we're unlocking secrets about health, disease, and even aging itself.
So we're talking about personalized medicine, early disease detection, maybe even extending our lifespans. This is heavy stuff.
It is. We'll dive into all of that more in part 2. Welcome back to our deep dive into the future of tech. Before we jumped into all the exciting possibilities with space exploration and multiomics, we were discussing the incredible potential of robotics to change our lives.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing to think about robots not just working in factories, but actually being out in the world helping us with everyday stuff. Like, imagine a world where robots do the dishes, fold the laundry, or even cook dinner. It sounds like something out of a movie.
It does, but it's closer than you might think. All the advances in artificial intelligence are making robots so much more adaptable, and they can learn new skills way faster than before. For example, researchers are developing robots that can learn by watching humans do things, just like we see in those sci-fi movies.
Oh, wow. That's pretty fascinating. And maybe a little unsettling, too. I mean, it's cool to think about having a robot assistant, but what happens when they get so smart that they start, thinking for themselves? Like, what if they decide they don't want to do the dishes anymore?
I see what you mean. It's a valid concern, for sure. It's something we need to be thinking about as we develop these technologies. It's important to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. The key is making sure we're developing AI responsibly, thinking about safety and ethical considerations from the start.
That makes a lot of sense. We need to be thinking about not just the what, but also the how and the why when it comes to AI. But let's not get too bogged down in the potential downsides for now. What are some of the ways robots could really change our lives for the better in the near future?
One area where robotics has the potential to make a huge impact is healthcare. Think about robots assisting surgeons in complex procedures, providing personalized care to elderly patients, even delivering medications with incredible precision.
Wow, that would be a game changer, especially for people in rural areas or those who don't have easy access to doctors and hospitals.
Hmm.
Robots could help bridge that gap and make healthcare more accessible for everyone.
Exactly. And it's not just about delivering care. Robots can also be incredibly useful in drug discovery and development.
Really?
AI-powered robots can analyze massive amounts of data to identify potential drug targets, and they can even simulate drug interactions in a virtual environment. That could speed up the whole process of developing new treatments, which could lead to breakthroughs in treating all sorts of diseases.
So basically, robots could help us live longer, healthier lives. That's a future I can definitely get behind.
Absolutely. But it's important to remember that humans will still play a vital role in all of this.
Of course.
Even as robots become more advanced, they won't be able to replace the need for human connection and empathy. We'll still need doctors, nurses, and caregivers to provide compassionate care and support to patients.
I agree. Technology can make our lives easier and do amazing things, but it can't replace the human touch. It's like in that movie Wall-E. Even in a future where technology is everywhere, it's the human connections that matter most.
Well said. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about another area where technology is making incredible progress: multiomics. Before the break, we talked a little bit about its potential, but let's dive a little deeper into what it means for understanding our health and treating diseases.
You said earlier that it's kind of like having a superpowered microscope that allows us to see how our cells work. Can you explain that a little more?
Sure, multiomics involves analyzing a bunch of different biological data like your DNA, RNA, proteins, and metabolites. We can use that data to create a really comprehensive picture of a person's health.
So it's like having this detailed map of your body that shows everything from your genetic predispositions to how your cells are actually functioning at any given moment.
Exactly. And that information can be incredibly valuable for preventing and treating diseases.
I bet.
For instance, by analyzing your DNA, doctors can tell if you're at higher risk for certain conditions, like heart disease or cancer. And that allows for early intervention, preventative measures, which could potentially save lives.
That's incredible. Like having a crystal ball that can predict your future health.
In a way, yeah. But it's not just about predicting the future. Multiomics can also help us understand why certain diseases develop and how to treat them more effectively. For example, by analyzing the molecular makeup of tumors, doctors can personalize cancer treatments to target specific mutations, which can lead to better outcomes.
Wow. So it's like personalized medicine on a whole new level, tailoring treatments to each person's unique biological blueprint.
Exactly, and it goes way beyond just treating diseases. Multiomics is also helping us understand the aging process and how we can potentially slow it down or even reverse it.
Okay, now that's getting into some serious sci-fi territory. Are we talking about a real-life fountain of youth here?
Well, maybe not a fountain of youth, but scientists are making some pretty incredible progress in understanding how aging works. They're looking at the changes that happen at the cellular level and figuring out potential targets for interventions that could extend our lifespan and improve our health span, which is the number of years we live in good health.
Wow, that's amazing. It feels like we're on the verge of unlocking some serious secrets about how to live longer, healthier lives.
We are making incredible progress, and with the speed of all these technological advancements, who knows what breakthroughs are just around the corner.
It's definitely a lot to take in. I'm starting to feel like Neo in the Matrix, trying to download all this new information into my brain.
Don't worry, we'll take a short break to let it all sink in. And when we come back, we'll explore some even bolder predictions about the future and discuss what these advancements mean for you, the listener.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the future. We've covered a lot of ground, from AI agents and robotaxis to multiomics and the quest for a longer, healthier life. Now it's time to really put on our futurist hats and make some bold predictions. What might the next 5 years have in store for us?
Well, one thing that's really exciting is that we're seeing all these different technologies starting to converge. It's like a perfect storm for innovation.
Okay, I like where this is going.
When you combine things like AI, robotics, 3D printing, and multiomics, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Okay, I'm ready for some mind-blowing predictions. What kind of game-changing innovations do you think we might see in the near future?
I think one area where we could see some really big breakthroughs is personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine, yeah.
Imagine a world where treatments are tailored not just to your genes, but to your unique cellular profile, taking everything into account.
Everything.
Yeah, like your lifestyle, your environment, even your microbiome.
So it's like having a healthcare plan designed specifically for you, down to the tiniest detail.
Exactly. And with all the advancements in AI and multiomics, we're getting closer and closer to that becoming a reality. Imagine having a digital twin of yourself.
A digital twin.
Yeah, like a virtual model that simulates how your body would respond to different treatments.
Yeah.
That could revolutionize how we develop drugs and lead to some incredibly precise and effective therapies.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like having your own personal health simulator. But let's get even bolder. What about something really transformative, something that could change the course of human history?
All right, here's a prediction that might sound like science fiction, but I think it's actually within the realm of possibility. By 2030, we will have seen at least one major disease cured using AI-driven drug development.
Whoa, that's a bold prediction. Curing a major disease within the next 5 years. That would be monumental. What disease do you think is most likely to be cured first?
It's tough to say for sure, but there are some really promising candidates out there. Things like cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and HIV/AIDS. AI is already playing a huge role in developing new treatments for these diseases. And with the continued advancements in multiomics and gene editing, I think a cure is definitely within reach.
That's incredibly hopeful. It really is. Makes you wonder what other seemingly impossible things we might be able to accomplish in the coming decades.
It really does. I think it points to a future where anything is possible. We're entering a time of just unprecedented technological progress. The key is that we have to make sure we're using these advancements for good. We can use them to solve some of the biggest problems facing humanity, like climate change, poverty, and disease.
So what does all of this mean for everyone listening out there?
It means that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create.
Through our choices and actions.
Exactly. Don't just sit back and watch the future unfold. Get involved, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and never stop exploring all the possibilities out there.
I love that. The future is an open book, and it's up to each of us to write our own chapter. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the future of technology. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and that you're feeling as excited as we are about all the amazing things that might be just around the corner. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into this incredible world we live in.